Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Lifting the Veil. This is unfortunate and tragic news of the death of Kobe Bryant in a shocking and mysterious helicopter crash. And my deepest condolences and sympathy goes out to everyone, all the families, the organizations, the community, everyone affected by this shocking tragedy. Under current intense federal investigation, which is considered standard protocol. And this is a pretty good coverage article from the LA Times covering some of the details of this event. Bryant was known to keep a chartered helicopter at Orange County's John Wayne Airport, and he frequently, 9 out of 10 times, he used the same helicopter for his travels, frequent travels by helicopter flight. And here is an official flight log of the final moments of Kobe's helicopter. 9 times out of 10, he flew 2 Echo X-ray, which is the Sikorsky S76B, tail number N72EX. There's this one video where the guy claims something strange and mysterious and foul because of this apparent photograph of Kobe Bryant's helicopter is obviously the original paint of the blue and white, and he is concerned about this discrepancy of the color of the paint, what is it, a different helicopter, or some suspicions like that. But I've confirmed that this is actually Kobe had his helicopter was wrapped in a black paint. It was a black wrap, which is basically, it's a vinyl plastic, which is very lightweight and it would burn away very easily. So it was wrapped. It was not painted black. So that discrepancy seems to check out. Kurt Dietz, former pilot for Island Express helicopters, told the LA Times that he suspects the crash was most likely caused by bad weather rather than engine or mechanical issues or mechanical failure. He states this because the likelihood of a catastrophic twin engine failure on that aircraft, it just doesn't happen, he says. And it's official that the parts of Southern California were enveloped in thick fog as the helicopter made its way from Orange County to Los Angeles. And during the flight, the pilot noted he was flying under special visual flight rules, which allows a pilot to fly in weather conditions worse than those allowed for standard visual flight rules. And the fog conditions were so severe that the LA Police Department Air Support Division actually had all of its helicopters grounded and didn't fly until later in the afternoon. So apparently, the weather and the fog was apparently so bad that it was essentially unflyable. And the record of Kobe's helicopter actually confirms that his craft was flying so low that it was dangerously low. It was too low to be safely followed.
2 Echo X-ray, you're still too low level for flight following at this time. Two Echo X-ray, SoCal.
And where it shortly was documented by these eyewitnesses here. Scott Dalen was taking a break from setting up sound for service at church in the canyon, which is below the site crash, when he heard the helicopter overhead. Because of its low proximity to the ground, I knew something was wrong. It was hovering real low, like they were searching to land. It was making a slow left turn. It was about 9:44 a.m. and then the impact happened. I heard a crunch. I don't think it pancaked, which means falling flat on its base. I think it hit rotors first. I immediately called 911. Jerry Kokarian was standing outside the church in the canyon drinking coffee when he heard a helicopter flying unusually low and seeming to struggle. It wasn't sounding right, and it was real low. I saw it falling and spluttering, but it was hard to make out as it was so foggy. The helicopter vanished into a sheet of fog, then there was a boom and a big fireball. No one could survive that. So this is an interesting account. What he's describing in some type of mechanical or engine failure. He's describing it not sounding right. He heard where did it say here? He heard a roar before a big explosion. I saw it falling and spluttering. It was hard to make out as it was foggy. But it's interesting how his story describes some type of what would be seemingly a mechanical failure of some sort just before it crashes and explodes, which would make sense as to why it was flying so unusually low.
Just what kind of risks were going on in California yesterday when Kobe Bryant's pilot took off in fog so thick they said you could barely see your hand in front of your face, and even the LAPD helicopters were grounded?
Yeah, well, your guess is about as good as mine for now. All the details are really sketchy. There's not much out there yet, but yeah, from what I can see, it was just poor decision making going out into the fog that thick.
And if you find out, like you fly into this kind of fog and you really can't see much of what's going on, if anything, and of course, it could be condensation on the glass for all I know. So what are you supposed to do in that situation?
Right. Well, they say you shouldn't take off to begin with if it's that bad out. And I see the LAPD, they were grounded anyway, so it must have been pretty bad right from the airport. But if you choose to take off anyway, and it gets worse along your route, your best bet is always to turn around to get out of the really bad stuff. Beyond that, you have a few options. You can either head straight back to the airport, which would probably be your best bet. Or if it starts to close in around you, try and find somewhere to land, if that's an option to you. But continuing forward through it, that's a poor decision.
You sort of looked into what was going on near the end, because man, to hit the side of that hill at 176 miles an hour, that is freaky fast for a helicopter as far as I know. And again, it's all pure speculation, but what situations could possibly arise where you're going, what is that? Is that above the rated speed of the helicopter? I mean, that just seems crazy fast to me.
Yeah, I just did a quick Google search yesterday. He was flying an S-76. It's a large helicopter, and by the looks of it, their VNE max speed is about 155 knots. So he was going well over that, which means he would have been diving into that hill. Again, I think it was just disorientation. It's pretty easy to get into a dive when you're not used to flying instrument, real quick. It's extremely disorienting, and I seen his trail there too. I mean, his airspeed was all over the place. He was up to 150 knots, down to 50, climbing, descending. He was very disoriented.
But so the manufacturer Sikorsky is also participating in an investigation of the crash along with the FBI, or the Federal Aviation Administration and National Transportation Safety Board, along with the FBI. So it's very interesting, and what they've done is they have completely closed off anywhere near the neighborhood and anywhere near the crash area, because supposedly it's being flooded by hundreds of fans trying to get to the site to pay their respects to Kobe. And so they've had to quarantine off the area so that nobody can get close to the ground zero of the crash site. And look, I don't know how else to say this, so I will just give my deepest heartfelt honesty, is that throughout this video I've discovered an incredible amount of really both inspiring, informationally dense synchronicities that honestly I'm not going to disrespect anyone or anything. I'm just highlighting information. That's all I'm doing. I am just connecting obvious syncs where they are apparent, and I'm not trying to draw any conclusions. I'm just simply organizing data. That's all I'm doing. The first and most notable thing that struck me that has come out is this 2016 episode of Legends of Chamberlain Heights on Comedy Central, where they literally made a joke about essentially foreshadowing or predicting Kobe Bryant's shocking death in a helicopter explosion shortly after a crash. In respect to Comedy Central, interestingly enough, to either cover the tracks of some type of foreknowledge of this event, they have eliminated and taken down all links publicly to this episode. I wish to honor their wishes of not showing this clip, because they claim it's in bad taste, of course. And however, this is contradictory because the fact is this has already been circulating in public for over 3 years now. And so if it is in bad taste, it is in bad taste because it has already been circulating before something like this even happened. And the fact is it's even more in bad taste if whoever created this had some sort of intention behind producing such media, which I think is more respectful as preserving the evidence as a matter of fact, just as you would present a piece of evidence in any type of investigation or any type of open legal cases. You have to examine the evidence, so it is important and highly critical to preserve such pieces of evidence for, just as a matter of public fact, as a matter of public record. No disrespect whatsoever is in any way intended, and it is only out of pure respect for someone's legacy, because of course their legacy is something that is important to all of us. Our legacy is most important.
Oh shit! It's Kobe Bryant!
Help me!
Just pass me the trophies and we'll pull you out!
Pass? These were Shaq's anyway.
But did they initial a public apology? Out of respect for Kobe Bryant and his family, we have removed the clip of him and ask that you please don't share it. Out of respect. Because they already put this out in the public, so there was no disrespect meant when they, showed him blowing up in the helicopter crash just as a comedy sketch, but now that it's actually come to fruition by whatever means, just random, shocking, mysterious coincidence. So, out of respect, we are now removing this episode, which has clear predicting or foreshadowing or just random freak coincidence that they depicted Kobe Bryant blowing up in this helicopter crash years before it actually happened. Very interesting. It leaves one to ponder the implications of how such a coincidence can possibly occur. And so this ties even further to yet another commercial that Kobe Bryant aired in along with Kanye West. Note that everything that follows visually is the creation of Nike in conjunction with this guy Robert Rodriguez. So I don't know if he did this, but this is the symbolism of Nike, and I will explain that deeper at the end of this, where it depicts him blowing up a helicopter with an even more specific synchronistic emphasis specifically on the word legends, corresponding with the blowing up of the helicopter.
Robert Rodriguez. What's going on, man?
Why don't I just get back on the bus?
Bus blows up.
So what does anyone want from you when you roll into town?
To take the Black Mamba out.
He has to be taken out.
Bigger budget, bigger explosions.
These were shit.
Because of course, more explosions, of course, you have to depict it.
But it's a double cross. A message from the boss.
So what's the boss want?
Boss wants to end your reign. Prove that you can be beat. So his plan is to take you down, defeat you, and then collect your shoes.
So the theme here is the big boss from on high, on top of the tower. The big boss, the big man upstairs, the big man wants to take him down, wants to take him out. He wants to bring him down, lower him down to the base, to the bottom, to the abyss. He wants to take him down from on high and end his reign as king. He wants to end his royalty, end his lineage. He wants the big man upstairs. And of course, the big man upstairs is the Cana-Phoenician god Saturnel, ruler of the physical realm of the inner planets. And he is the big man. He was known in ancient times, in the ancient Sumerian ziggurats. He was known as the Most High, of Shamash, of the sun, solar god, the best deity, the best one, the Father God on high. And so and so much in my other written works about this, but so he is the one that wants to take him down, and he is the collector of the shoes, which represents the souls, represents the soul of living being, represents the footsteps that you've walked here on the physical earth, represents your life path, your footpath, which is why their shoes are representative of the memory of someone's life, their commemoration after their deceased death.
In the store. Now, can I get the soles without the shoes?
The outsoles?
Yes! I want the soles. I need the soles.
No.
I want the soles. I need the soles.
No.
So I want to defer you really quick to this amazing clip by one of my good friends, and I consider him a mentor, Truth Heresy, Christopher Lord, from his channel, which I just went through for the first time in a while, and it's completely been ransacked by the YouTube's sweep. So unfortunately, yeah, I was looking for some of his clips to show you about Robin Williams, which were incredibly revealing information. Pretty undeniable information. And of course those videos had to be terminated in the YouTube sweep, or should I say the purge, the great purge of 2017, and then of course 2018, and then of course most recently the great purge of 2019, which I will do full esoteric presentations on the deep symbolic significance of that in and of itself. But that's I'm going off topic. But so again, here's this clip from Truth Heresy.
Of course, they tell you the words are not related, but the words soul and soul are indeed related. The soul is the bottom of your feet where you walk. It is the very existence upon this earth and the proof thereof. And the bottom of your feet are in the same location as hell. And so now you know why the soul fish is a flat bottom fish from hell, and how it's related to the sandal. For thousands of years, shoes have been made from leather. And what is leather from? Leather is the hide or the skin of an animal, specifically a cow or a bull. So a pair of leather shoes were created from death.
And so this is a good reason to go vegan and to be vegan, is because you no longer have to be walking upon death. You no longer have to walk on death. You can choose to have completely cruelty-free products, cruelty-free shoes, great comfortable footwear that isn't walking on death.
And now you know why we have the walking dead, as well as walking in dead man shoes. And perhaps now you'll understand why the Illuminati of 9/11 or 7/11, they had the monument with thousands and thousands of empty dead man shoes. And you remember when we were kids and threw a pair of old shoes on a wire, which either represented somebody that died or a dead pair of shoes. And even today, it's polite to take off your shoes before you enter someone's home. And in the Bible, the Hebrew God asked Moses to remove his sandals. So remember I was telling you about the red ruby shoes of death? We see the same symbolism with the red bloody feet of Jesus. And some say he was nailed through the ankle, like this crucified man from Jerusalem. And yes, an ankle is directly related to the letter L, or the god L for that matter. And that's why an ankle is related to the Egyptian Ankh, which of course comes from the thoracic vertebrae of a bull spine, the symbol of life. And of course, even the straps that went around the ankles resembled the Ankh.
Boss wants to see you.
What does he want?
Some take souls, some take scalps. Boss takes shoes. Upstairs.
The boss collects the best basketball players in the world.
Ready to join my trophy wall?
So the big boss hog, the boss Nass, is coming to collect. And he collects the best basketball players and he reaps their soul.
Yes, I want the souls. I need the souls.
The world's deadliest predator is about to become my towel boy. Just pass me the trophies and we'll pull you out. These were Shaq's anyway.
I'll be the guest, G. So I should it in.
Black Mama doesn't end. Heroes come and go.
But legends are forever.
Okay, so I was not planning on going this deep at all, but since the symbolism is already there and has already been depicted, it's showing. So at first I was wondering, why the hell at the end of this video, of the end of this commercial, are they showing? Apparently, I guess Kanye is somehow laughing maniacally, like he somehow survived that helicopter explosion. Like what is he, superhuman? How could anybody possibly survive that? So there's a maniacal laugh as if he's supposed to return in some sort of sequel or something. And so it perplexed me. But the one thing it reminded me of was incredibly reminded me of Emperor Palpatine, who just was resurrected and came back from the dead, death and resurrection, reborn, and of course he's always associated with the crazy maniacal laugh and returning from the dead with his maniacal laugh. So it was this just stunning parallel. But that gave me this epiphany that I had, that's exactly the point. Was see, Kobe was battling with the big boss lord, the main lord, the great opposer, Satan, who is literally Saturn's STN, which literally means ancient Hebrew opposer, the one who opposes, who obstructs our path and thwarts our progress forward. The great opposer, STN, Saturn, Satan. He is the big boss lord, the boss hog, the Most High, who is opposing Kobe in essentially in a match to the death. And Kobe won this round. However, it's showing with the maniacal laugh that Saturn, Satan, would have his revenge. And that's exactly what we've witnessed. And so I'm not saying anything, I'm not saying anything other than that this is just the crazy synchronistic events of how and what happened. So that gave me a total revelation. I was like, that's why he's doing the maniacal laugh, because Saturn, Satan, the opposer, the Illuminati, the one who are at the top and control all the sports and control all the gambling and control the entire entertainment and media industry and control and Nike is the Illuminati, these large corporations, which the Nike swoosh, the Nike is actually a Nike slash.
Jordans, which of course is produced and made by the Illuminati company called Nike. And why do you think they chose Nike to be the producers of Jordan Airs? Because Nike was the goddess of sports. You see, Nike was the goddess who slayed the bull. And how's this Nike ad where they say, just do it?
It is the sickle of Saturn, but more specifically in this reference, it is Thanatos. And Thanatos was the ancient Greek god of death. It's where we get the image of the Grim Reaper from, comes from Thanatos, who actually wasn't, really, he wasn't evil in any way, which is why it's the allusion to Thanos, which is where Marvel Comics gets Thanos from, is from Thanatos, who wasn't evil. He just had a gentle touch. And so he was the god of death who transitioned people as if dying in their sleep, as if falling into a never-ending slumber. It was very gentle and it was very graceful, Thanatos was. But he carried the sickle because he was the Grim Reaper, which has relations to Father Time, or Kronos, who is Saturn. And so, sure enough, like, I was not expecting any of this to come out, but as I started making this film, literally everything synced with all of my full written presentations that I've written years ago that are all now syncing up with this perfect copycat event. And these presentations are based off of all of these other past events that have occurred in the past several years. The Pulse nightclub, the Las Vegas Harvest, the Bataclan, Paris. These are all the same thing, and that's what these presentations were written for. It wasn't written for Kobe, and yet here it all is yet again coming out. And so again, Thanatos is the link to Thanos, who is the purple titan. He is a purple titan, and Saturn was the ancient purple haze, the Most High. Saturn's color is purple, not because it is purple, but because he is El, the god of the Phoenicians, the purple people. Phoenicia literally means the purple people, and it is the Phoenician royalty, the Sea Kings, the Atlanteans. But so Thanos is he is the purple titan god king. Which is literally why Saturn's moon is Titan, because Saturn Kronos was the Titan of the gods. And this ties directly, again, so many other, we'll have to leave it there. But so Nike, the essence of Nike, she was the Greek goddess of victory over her opponents. She slaughtered the bull and she slit its throat. She was the goddess of sacrifice of the sacred bull. And so the sickle of Saturn is not just the sickle, the falx. It is literally representative of a view of the rings of Saturn. Because what did you just think, that the Nike swoosh was just a regular check mark? I don't think so. It's a perspective symbol. So this is why Nike showed the sickle literally right there, flaming next to the flaming remains of the helicopter crash. Okay, so I promised myself that I was going to try to keep myself in line and in check and not, start blasting off at the Illuminati or the Dark Cabal or the, what have you. But at this point, I can't hold it back. This is absolutely, I didn't even know this. I don't know how I just miraculous. I don't even know how this article found me or how I had found this while I was putting together this presentation. It just came. But Nike, this was from back in 2013. Nike pulls a campaign for an ad campaign for a series of shirts titled Boston Massacre with blood spatter all over it. And this is legitimate. This is not fake news. This is not a spoof or satire. Nike actually had to pull an entire line that had been running prior to the actual events of the Boston Massacre taking place. They had to pull the shirts from the shelves. But this headline, let's take a deeper look at what this and other companies take advantage of in the name of cash. So here, I'm not going to be able to monetize this documentary style video because of the implications of how it's controversial and of the nature of the material, whereas Nike can literally make ad slogan campaigns selling rare commodities on eBay for massively ranked limited edition shirts that they pulled from the shelves that are now collector's items because they strategically put it out before the event took place and then strategically removed it from the shelves after the event. So now they're going for high amounts of money. Nike seems to see dollar signs in any slogan it can print on any shirt, no matter how poor taste or the phrase might be. The blood-spattered Nike t-shirt printed with the words Boston Massacre, the company recalled this week after the Boston bombings, although the slogan was printed prior to the national tragedy ever occurring. This is the second. Okay, Nike, I gave you a benefit of the doubt with the Kobe Bryant commercial, and I thought maybe I'm just being a conspiracy, minded and reaching and just seeing things where they might not actually be there, and maybe I should give you the benefit of the doubt, even after all that symbolism I just decoded from you. But after this is your second strike, and after this, no, you are not getting a pass here. Nike, this is not okay. Nike, you have been exposed. This is an utter crime. This is disgusting. Let's look here some other examples from Nike. The slogan, "I am the bullet in the chamber." Read the slogan on Nike ads featuring Oscar Pistorius, who has since been accused of shooting his girlfriend dead. Jeez Louises, Nike, how is this even possible? Your history and your symbolism as the goddess of slaughter and of sacrifice. I mean, you take the name of victory by the means of slaughter, and sacrifice is the means of victory that Nike goes out to achieve for themselves. A couple years ago, Boston's Mayor Menino wrote a letter to Nike asking them to stop selling shirts promoting drug use alongside sports. And I am personally not one for hunting for things within numbers, and I personally think that, numbers are sort of arbitrary as far as using like 100 different forms of gematria, so I don't mess around with, looking and hunting around for hidden codes and messages in, any one of my arbitrary selections of various different types of made-up gematrias, so I'm not into that, but I will point out this connection that is there along with Comedy Central being the letter C being the third letter of the alphabet, which obviously corresponds to the number 3, so Comedy Central, CC, carbon copy, what have you, is actually representative of 33 numerically, which is significant because, again, it is the 33rd degree of Freemasonry, which is 1 degree higher than the 32nd degree of the Royal Scottish Rite, of the Shriners, the protectors of the royal secret, Sublime Prince of the royal secret, which is, again, the royalty of Tyrian purple and gold, coming from the ancient Cana Phoenician, which represents the royal order of the jesters, which are the clowns, the sacred fools, the buffoons, the clowns, the Comedy Central, the satire, the mirth, the humor, the purple and gold Shriner royal order of jesters. And the jesters is the faction, is the branch, is the tier that is in charge of entertainment, of Hollywood, of sports, of gambling, of sex and drugs and rock and roll, and all things satire, satirical, satanic reverence and revelry.
Hold on. It's not that kind of party, Shut. You're not coming to our fucking party either, okay? Fuck you, okay?
Yeah. First of all, it ain't that kind of party, all right?
Go fuck a goat, okay?
Why you always telling me to fuck a goat, man?
They are the ones in charge of the entertainment and the mirth and the pastime and the sport and the games and the gambling, and they're the ones in charge of the sex trafficking. They're the ones who are in charge of facilitating what the Sublime Princes are the ones in charge of protecting the royal secret. Whereas the jesters are the ones, the little foot soldiers, the little nasty, filthy, perverted judges and police and the sports team owners and all of these dudes running around with cowboy hats, smoking cigars, gambling, buying hookers, going to other countries to traffic, and they've been busted countless times. Just look up the Shriners, the Royal Order of the Jesters, and sex trafficking. You will find judges, high-level politicians. These are the traffic runners. These are the runners, and I'm gonna call them out because this is true. It's factually, objectively true. I'm not gonna go through each and every. That's not what this is about. This is about showing that But you can go through much deeper into my previous written works all about that. And there's a great documentary out there about the Shriners, the Royal Order of Jesters, and all of the sex trafficking as well. It's already out there. This is even more synchronistically correlated with Kobe Bryant donning the sacred number of 33 during his college years, which of course 33 is considered a master builder number. It is the Trinity. It is the most high of the master numbers, of the master builder numbers, multiples of 11 of the sacred number, the sacred L-even, the sacred twin pillars, multiples of 11, 22, and 33. And 22, we can't even begin to get into this, but 22 also has a massive correlation with specifically the essence of death and rebirth, or death and transformation, or again transition between worlds, as I've fully documented. And you can find this in my full presentation, my full written article here, links in the description below for all of these cited references. Whereas the 22 again is the year of 2020, numerically breaking down base numerically to the number 22, which I'm not going to analyze the whole date and all of that, because I'm not feeling in sort of an arbitrary mood like that, and nothing has really jumped out at me of my own genuine inspiration, so I'm not going to hunt for things where I'm not feeling truly 100% inspired, which I am with the symbolism, because that's what I do. It's actually objective. It speaks to me and it shows me exactly what is there. I'm not going out, it's not apophenia and it's not pareidolia. This is objectively there, and I can show you that, and I show you all this symbolism. I literally just sync things together. I am not drawing any conclusions out of all of this. So the FBI, the federal investigators, are currently trying to unravel the mystery of why Kobe's helicopter crashed in a freak accident along with 7 other people. Or I'm curious as to, was there any type of foul play in this story here, as has happened for so many other tragic and shocking, mysterious deaths of seemingly Hollywood celebrities. Joan Rivers, tragic hanging from the doorway of Robin Williams, all predicted in Family Guy. The transition of Caitlyn Jenner, predicted in, was it The Simpsons or was it Family Guy? I can't remember. Such as the events of the Boston bombing also being predicted in Family Guy. 9/11 being predicted in The Simpsons and displayed in Family Guy.
To understand this, we have to understand predictive programming. Alan Watts states, things or ideas which would be otherwise seen as bizarre, vulgar, undesirable, or impossible are inserted into films in the realm of fantasy, where when the viewer watches these films, his or her mind is left open to suggestion, and thus the conditioning process begins, through subverting the conscious mind and entering into the realm of subconscious, through entertainment, or entertrainment, as I like to say. These same movies, which are designed to program the average person, can give the discerning viewer a better understanding of the workings and the plan of the world agenda, if one becomes conscious to the patterns, the numbers, the symbols, and the iconography being used through this media manipulation. You can catch on to it, you can start to see the clues, and you can follow the trail, and you can call out these things that are happening. You can call them out as they come, which are being dismantled by the day now, which once took us years and decades to be able to unravel, are now taking a mere matter of hours in order to call out the bullshit of the programming, such as the 9/11 attacks, which were foreshadowed in Hollywood media decades before the actual events took place. In cartoons like The Simpsons, Family Guy, which has predicted.
The creator of Family Guy himself, Seth MacFarlane, mysteriously and miraculously missing his flight on 9/11 into the World Trade Centers. So either did he have some type of inside foreknowledge, or was this just random freak coincidence that he ended up missing the 9/11 flight, while also simultaneously somehow predicting all of these events in his episodes of Family Guy as a sort of sigil magic or a predictive magic.
In a bizarre coincidence, news of the tragic suicide of actor Robin Williams emerged just minutes before the end of a broadcast of a Family Guy episode which was simultaneously being aired on the BBC, in which the plot revolved around Robin Williams and a failed suicide attempt. The Independent reports Robin Williams' Family Guy episode about a suicide attempt aired on BBC Three as news of actor's death broke. In the Driven to Madness like King Midas, the curse leads Peter to try and commit suicide. And the episode ended just minutes before news of the tragic suicide of Robin Williams' death emerged, prompting BBC viewers to remark on the chilling coincidence of the two events. The episode ended just as the news broke about his death, a BBC spokesperson said. This was a repeat that we have shown a couple of times before, so who could have planned it? It was scheduled more than 2 weeks ago, so it is just an uncanny coincidence. Some of our people who work here noticed that the death of Robin Williams was announced just as this episode ended. And before the mainstream media writes hit pieces about InfoWars claiming the Illuminati killed Robin Williams, no, that's not what I'm saying. Although a lot of people in the conspiracy community are claiming precisely that. Here's one example. I am leaning on the possibility he was taken out by the powers that be, but I can't possibly fathom why. He hasn't been relevant to the mainstream for a while, and unless he did something behind the scenes to piss them off, then it makes no sense. Unless he's one in a line of sacrifices during this lunar time.
Placed with the of the Turkish ambassador taking place on December 19th during the waning last quarter phase of the moon, which is prominent in most lunar sects such as Judaism, Dionic witchcraft, as well as symbolic ritualistic or satanic ritualistic events involving significant aspects of the lunar phases such as the first and last quarter moon phase, or the full moon and the black moon, or the new moon.
Unless he's one in a line of sacrifices during this lunar time. So of course, as we unfortunately are all too aware of, whenever somebody in Hollywood dies, the lunatics immediately come out of the woodwork and make YouTube videos about how it was an Illuminati sacrifice. That's not what I'm saying, I'm just saying it's an interesting coincidence. And in fact, going beyond that, it's intriguing to delve into what Carl Jung called synchronicity, which is defined as the experience of two or more events which occur in a meaningful manner, but which are causally unrelated. So this was the idea, which is obviously being challenged by other philosophers, of meaningful coincidence, and it basically became the underpinning for Jung's concept of archetypes and the collective unconsciousness, which is the idea that there's this governing dynamic, this energy that underpins the whole of human experience in history. So not to get too deep into it in a 4-minute YouTube video, but he basically outlined the concept that these kind of synchronicities are not necessarily planned, there's no conspiracy behind it, but it's just an energy that emanates out of the human experience, out of the collective unconscious, that causes these meaningful parallels, these meaningful coincidences, such as a Family Guy episode about Robin Williams invoking the notion of suicide being broadcast at the same time as his actual suicide to possibly happen. Which of course is challenged by apophenia, which is this concept of humans seeing patterns or connections in everything in random or meaningless data, and then claiming that it is a meaningful coincidence or a meaningful synchronicity. And this kind of coincidence has happened with Family Guy before. Remember last year, after the Boston bombings, an episode emerged of Family Guy which had been broadcast just before the Boston Marathon attack, which showed people being killed at the Boston Marathon. So we've seen this kind of synchronicity with something as abstract as a Family Guy episode beforehand. So again, it's interesting that this episode was being broadcast minutes before the actual suicide of Robin Williams. And again, I'm not saying it's a conspiracy theory and that they had prior knowledge of his suicide and that it was an Illuminati assassination, blood sacrifice. No, the people who say that are silly lunatics. The point I'm making is, it's interesting whether these kind of coincidences are meaningful coincidences, are kind of synchronicities that emerge from the collective unconscious, from some kind of underpinning energy which guides the universe, or if they're just meaningless coincidences that have no connection whatsoever. Let me know what you think in the comments below. This is Paul Joseph Watson for Infowars.com.
Somehow, Seth MacFarlane must be very privy to what is going on with him, and he even states that he miraculously missed the plane which flew into the towers. He miraculously missed the flight that was supposed to be in the events of 9/11.
There you were. You were booked on the flight, I think, from Boston that hit the South Tower.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't get on it. Why?
A combination of two things. I was giving a lecture at my college the night before and went out with some of the faculty afterwards and had a few pints. And
so you got drunk?
Yes. And coupled with the fact that my travel agent had listed the flight on my itinerary as leaving 10 minutes later than it did. And I was generally late for flights. I'd missed a lot of flights prior to that, so it wasn't like it was anything crazily out of the ordinary. But I got to the counter and I said, yeah, I'm booked on flight 11. And the one behind the counter said, sorry, you're too late. They just closed the gate. And I said, all right, well, I'll take the 11 o'clock. Went into the lounge, fell asleep, woke up about 45 minutes later to a commotion, and the first plane had hit, and sat there and watched the second plane hit, and they announced what flight it was, and I turned to the guy next to me and said, my God, that was the flight I was supposed to be on. I was late. I missed it.
What an incredible thing to realize has just happened to the plane you should have been on.
Yeah. I mean, there was a, that wonderful unity that we've since completely abandoned. I've never felt more than when I was standing at the bar at 9 o'clock in the morning and saying to the bartender, hey, can you pour me a shot? And he's like, yeah, here you go. It's on the house. And, that feeling that must have been what, our grandparents felt during World War II, where this is, in that moment, everything was, we're all the same. But I'm not a fatalist. I was not shaken to the core in the way that I changed my whole outlook on life, mainly because I had missed planes before, and coincidences do happen. I mean, a day before that incident, I could have been crossing the street 5 minutes earlier and gotten hit by a car and never known that I just missed it.
Predictive programming works by means of propagation of the illusion of an infallibly accurate vision of how the world is going to look in the future. Through the circulation of science fiction literature, the masses are provided with semiotic or symbolic intimations of coming events. Within such literary works are narrative paradigms that are politically and socially convenient to sociopaths. This brings us to the Mothman prophecies, which were said to foresee or foreshadow certain catastrophic events in the near future that would take place involving critical pieces of architecture, which is similar and exactly mirroring the foreshadowing of the events of 9/11 in such Hollywood media that implied people would be sacrificed in an architectural catastrophe long before these events unfolded.
What I find very interesting about this episode of 2016 episode titled End of Days, aired on November 16th, 2016 on Comedy Central. This was a very interesting plot of this episode, which I have not seen, by the way. A leaked sex tape causes a global internet blackout. A global internet blackout. Interesting. And the legends must find a way to survive the apocalypse. Meanwhile, Milt cashes in on his pirated Chinese satellite connection, which gives him the only access to the internet.
X-ray for your transition to Camarillo. Did you just want to follow the 118?
118, and then we'll look around Van Nuys to catch the 101 2 Echo X-ray.
Your 2 Echo X-ray, roger.
So the mystery of the 101 is something that I've been wanting and desiring to cover for a long time, because it's extremely powerful and extremely significant, and it plays into so much. Is so fundamental and so foundational to not just my work, but to the universal work, the great work, the universal truth. And so I've been meaning we will cover this more deeply along the same lines of the same content that has appeared in other of my videos that I still need to get to finishing. One of them being the Las Vegas event of 2017, of the Las Vegas harvest, and then another one being just an overall overarching theme that I will show you visual graphics of here. But so this is again the significance of the 101. I've noticed this for a long while, for the several years that I had been living in California, and there's also the Highway 88 but yeah, so the 101 is highly significant. It represents the mysteries of death and rebirth itself. It is literally, it's the twin pillars and the gateway where the journey, the mystery of death ends, but also yet begins as the journey of the initiation into consciousness through the twin pillars of the left and right hemisphere, through the pineal gland, the gateway, the all-seeing eye, linked to the ancient Egyptian mysteries, what was Sirius, the link from the pineal gland to Sirius, which was considered where the kings go after death, the pathway, the journey of kings, the transmigration of the soul, the pathway of the kings to become gods and deities as the stars in the heavens, the link between consciousness of the earth to the consciousness of Sirius. So this was the ancient Egyptian mysteries of death and rebirth. And so this literally represents the essence of sacrifice, of typically inner self metaphorical sacrifice to a new self, but also has been used for thousands of years as an external proxy sacrifice, physical sacrifice, many forms, in the forms of the scapegoat, of the Azazel goat, many different rituals throughout ancient Hebrew, and so very, very significant. And so this is the mystery of the 101, and this, I've got full presentations written, and will be books as well, that's going so much deeper into this significance here, again in this full presentation, so we won't cover hardly any of this here. But so again, this is why the initiation represents the 101. It's the beginning of the journey. This is why you take an initiatory course, is the 101 course. It's the beginner's course. You are the neophyte entering into the temple, into the Masonic temple, through the twin pillars and through the left and right hemispheres, anatomically and spiritually into the stars, astrotheologically, speaking from a sense of consciousness. And so this is literally the symbolic meaning, the symbolic synchromistic significance of Kobe, essentially wearing the royal Tyrian purple and gold of the purple royal kings, being ascended and sacrificing, self-sacrifice, and the mysteries of death and initiation into the afterlife. And as always, I had written about this years ago, fully explaining all of this in my full presentation, Phoenix Consciousness Rising from the Esoteric Ashes of Pyrification. Pyrification, a play on words of purification, because pure is, they're literally the same etymological word. They're the same meaning, the same etymological essence. But so the essence of this is literally the phoenix, the ancient Egyptian phoenix, the Bennu bird, was literally derived, rather than the ibis, was actually rather derived from the purple heron, which was literally the colors of the sun, of the sunset, of the evening, the time between the transition between worlds of day and night, where the sunset, the horizon, is the colors of amber, orange, and purple. The colors of royalty, the colors of transition or crossing over, the crossroads between life and death, day and night, between realms, which is literally why the phoenix is representative of the orange and the purple, or the orange and gold, the purple and gold, the colors of death and rebirth and resurrection. Literally, this is the essence, this is the ritual. It's known as crossing the abyss, which is also the name of my second channel, which you guys should go and subscribe to if you're not already subscribed. Crossing the abyss. So this is the essence of crossing the abyss from life into death, the crossing the threshold between the two realms, between the two worlds, is literally the symbolic, whether you want to consider this, something orchestrated or just divinely, miraculously, synchromystically organized, however you want to view this, as just random wild coincidence or personal apophenia, seeing obvious symbolic patterns in all of this that clearly tells a very meaningful story. But this is the mystery of synchromysticism, is it doesn't have to automatically have meaning for the sync itself to be meaningful. The language of synchronicity, the language of sync for short, as we call it, is far deeper than we can typically comprehend. But as we start to see these syncs and the patterns come together and the web begin to connect things, you begin to understand a higher level of language, because the energetics, the structure of energetics in physics and in the universe is literally the energetic pattern it's the self-organizing principle. This is the principle that organizes not just events but pathways of energy flow. And so this is the underlying energetic structure that we physically witness in life through the form of synchronicity. As far as events, chronological or simultaneous events occurring in the physical world. This is what we see it manifested as physically. But again, it's a form of synchromystic sigil magic, a form of... There's an interesting alternative perspective through synchromysticism where the act of creating such cartoons and scripts sort of acts as a form of sigil magic or sympathetic magic or proxy magic, in the form of mentally creating a concept, an egregore, a thought, a concept, and through the act of writing it with the hand, essentially bringing your thoughts into the physical world through the act of writing or through the hand, a sort of talismanic signature that, when combined with a large viewing audience or many conscious points of consciousness focusing on your talismanic signature that you have created, through that act of so many people using their two visual eyes and their third inner visual eye to focus and triangulate their point of awareness, their points of consciousness, that many points of awareness, paying into or attention to that talisman, actually narrows down, statistically, it narrows the odds, such as if you were to notice this in random number generators, the act of consciousness can actually affect the outcome of the random number generators, actually makes the random numbers become more coherent. So it's that act of focus that actually makes the energy coherent, becomes more coherent, which dramatically reduces the astronomical odds of some type of random event occurring, and it actually makes it much more predictable, makes it much more probable, or possibly actually even manifesting in physical reality. First, manifesting it on the causal level or the mental level, and through the public energy organizes that probability and enhances the probability of it occurring, a form of sympathetic vibratory resonance. This is an interesting connection, though, obviously, with the Orange County, and Orange County has deep esoteric symbolism involved in shootings and mass massacres and mysterious deaths of people because of my entire based on Christopher Lord's work about the entire essence of the orange warning and the orange house of death, the orange warning, the orange foreshadowing of death. And I've got vast works documenting countless ways that this takes into account here, which is the same essence, which is very interesting and very intriguing, the connection between the LA Lakers, which don the colors of the royal Tyrian purple and gold, which are the colors of royalty, of the ancient Cana-Phoenician royalty, as I've documented fully here, which you guys can read fully about in my full basically ebook presentation, Symbolism Will Be Their Downfall and Our Redemption, as well as its offshoots and corresponding works of Assassination Nation, engineering the Cabal's, decoding the Cabal's engineered civil war, as well as this other work, Assassination Nation. So I've got several works fully outlining and documenting this connection, so it goes far too deep to even begin to explain. And I had a previous video back in 2016 fully documenting this code orange warning, MK Ultra violence symbolism that was used in the Pulse nightclub back in 2016 with the Pulse nightclub events and very strange discrepancies involving all of these by the people who know who document the symbolism, the ancient Cana-Phoenician Illuminati Brotherhood. And so of course, the interesting implications of the royalty comes from Kobe was located in Corona del Mar of Los Angeles, as Corona is obviously Latin for, obviously comes from the root of crown, of Latin coronation, corona, the royalty, the king, the royal purple and Tyrian gold, the Tyrian royal purple orange and purple house of royalty, the houses of orange and the houses of purple, the MK Ultra violence. And there is so much esoteric symbolism to all of this. I'm not planning on getting into that in this video. I'm just documenting these connections. And so again, Corona del Mar, whereas Kobe Bryant was essentially, he held the all-time scoring record, which has just been surpassed by King James, literally the day before his death. So King James essentially takes the crown. And then the next day, Kobe dies in a shocking, mysterious helicopter explosion.
And we all know about the certain massacres and certain events that have taken place at the Olympics as well.
The purple above the head, the crown. We have the
which is why purple is a royal color. The Tyrian purple, the royal color of Phoenicia.
Right, the green is in the heart, and the yellow is in the belly. So that shows right there the spirit going into, through the heart into the belly.
Spirit into matter.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that color of purple, we were talking about that the other day. There was something else. They made that from some sort of rare animal that is only there, right?
Yeah, it's a mollusk, a type of
snail.
A type of snail. And it produces this purple dye it's only found in that area, and it's really hard. It's a really rare commodity to come by, so that's why it's a royal color, because only the royal elites could afford, to get this, could acquire this dye.
And again, that that goes back to the royal color. Obviously, it relates to the crown chakra because that's why it's the royal color of ancient Phoenicia.
Right, and Roy is the king.
Yeah, Roy El, which El was the god of Phoenicia, the god king, the Roy El. But yeah, that goes back to the Phoenicians were the purple people. But yeah, so the purple is the combination of red and blue, the red and the blue pill taken together to get the purple, or the two halves of the season, which in between the red and the blue in astrotheology makes the purple. That line in between is the mixing. It's the purple. It's that unified balance between the two.
Nice. That purple, because it was so rare, couldn't make it everywhere where there were kings. So then the kings, especially of Europe, we know those red capes that the kings then had. They went to red as the royal color. And if you look now, yes, and the fairies had the color of blue. So the female color was actually blue, and the male color was red. And they turned it around on us. You know, we dress the boys in blue, and the girls in red and pink.
They combine, and at that middle point there is the purple. That is what many ancient royal bloodlines, as well as ancient royal cults, will always wear the crimson and the purple. The crimson, purple, Tyrian purple.
Yeah, you see it in old churches on the stained glass windows are all purple and gold. That's interesting.
Purple and gold, which is very... Well, essentially, those are the two colors of mind control symbolism. Colors of mind control symbolism. Because they come from the Royal Dutch House of Orange, which is related to the House of Windsor. You know, they're all essentially the same family bloodlines, but the royal purple, when you start to really understand the purple and the orange, you will never look at Hollywood the same way again. You'll realize that all the movies are, especially the very esoteric ones, they always show you the orange and the purple color scheme. Or the orange and gold, they go together. But those essentially, they come from, orange and purple are the colors of Cana Phoenicia, the colors of Saturn L.
Yeah. Oh, purple, yeah. Purple, I remember now.
Orange is the esoteric color of warning in the ember months of the year, such as November and December, when the sun has gone into its ember state of the year, which is at its low point, just before it dies its death at the winter solstice, where it will then be reborn again at the spring as the color green, in the green spring of fertility. So the ember months are when the sun has become ember or amber orange, which is the sun's warning just before it dies and then will be reborn again. So the orange is the color of warning, as in the amber alert, as in code orange, which is the state of alert for terrorist threats, which is a stage just below red alert, which is the highest state of warning. The bull god, El, Cronus, or Saturn, was the most high of the Bible, and thus wore the crown, which comes from the word crone, or Cronus, who was the old crone. The crown, or Charon, comes from Cronus, and corona, which comes from the sun. A corona is a halo, a crown. The etymology of crown comes from Latin corona, a gaseous envelope of the sun and other stars. Hence, a crown symbolizing the rays of the sun. Corona and crown come from Greek koroné, meaning anything curved, a kind of crown, which comes from the curve of the golden rings of Saturn. Saturn, who is known as Lord of the Rings, and is also known as the Greek god Kronos, or Father Time, who gives us the word chronology, crown, coronation, corona, crone, which is exactly why all who wear crowns are literally cronies. Kronos, who in ancient times was known as the best sun during the golden age of Kronos, who was the king of the age because he emitted a glorious halo. Halo comes from Greek halos, meaning disk of the sun or moon, ring of light around the sun or moon, or in other words, the golden rings, which rivaled or tempted our modern sun, today known as our Son of God, the temptation of Jesus, the Son of God. And this is exactly why to this day we still pay homage to this best son by wearing golden wedding rings as well as earrings. In the ancient Canaan Phoenician city of Byblos, also known as El Jabal, Saturn or Kronos was the king of Byblos, or the founder of Byblos. Kronos was known as the god El, the Most High, and was described as twin pillars, or twin towers. The number 11, because the two L's are even. They are parallel to one another. They are parallel. They are literally a pair of L's.
And that's all I have for you guys today. May your souls shine among the stars, and may the light of the heavens shine within you.
I'd love to hear your comments on that in the section down below, so that way I can go through and read some of what you have to say about it. If this is the type of content that interests you, make sure to check out my full presentations as well as my further research, my further films, and my previous videos that you can find in the full archives at patreon.com/liftingtheveil. The link will be in the description below, and all my cited source links will be in that article description as well. And I'm sorry I didn't want to make this too long. I wanted to make this a short video. And as always, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to watch my videos. If you enjoy this information, please share it around with anyone who you think might also appreciate the information.
It's my greatest passion, and my purpose and my mission is to continue to produce genuinely inspired and meaningful, uplifting content, intellectual pieces of art.
We haven't even begun to scratch the surface of just how much info is ready and waiting to be produced. I can't even keep up with the amount of output, let alone the amount of writing that is coming through. We haven't even gotten started yet. We are just warming up.
And so we just need to take care of this business, guys, because as it stands right now, I am not able to do this full time. I simply am not making enough to pay off the amount of effort that goes into these. So I can't practically do it right now. So we have to meet these minimum goals. Otherwise, I can't do this. Please help me continue in this mission. And check out the merch in the links below. Help support my channel that way, or support my channel on patreon.com/liftingtheveil. Links in the description below. And I will see you guys in the next video. There is so much more content coming up.